because we fucking done it. 100% picks on last night's UFC Vegas 87. Bagged myself a nice cheeky £400 at the end of the night. Not going to lie, getting towards that Rosenstrike fight, I was sitting on the end of my couch with a cash out of 94 quid going, do I, don't I, do I, don't I? And I thought, nah, Biggie Boy's got the experience here. Let's ride it out. Let's get this done. And it paid off. You know what I mean? Even halfway through the fight, you're sitting there going, mate, heavyweight MMA, anything could happen here. I mean, one punch could change this with a cash out of 200 and odd quid. I was like, hold the line, George, hold the line. Everybody on Twitter, friends and WhatsApp, everything, give you all a massive shout out for telling me to hold on, stay in there and don't cash out. I only put £1 on it, people. I wish I put 10 quid on it. You know what I mean? Imagine if I put 100 quid on it. I could have had 400k, but anyway, 400 quid. That's nice. That'll go right into my pocket and I'll maybe treat my missus to something nice. But let's get stuck into it. UFC 299, predictions and picks. Let's go. We've got an absolute stacked card ahead of us, folks. As you can see here, there is banger after banger after banger after banger. So let's go on all the way down to the prelims and we'll get started with Joanne Wood versus Maryna Rose. I am going to be using Bet365 odds. I'm not going to be using the odds that they've got on the screen here. Just so everybody knows, if you go and hang on, wait a minute, that's not what the odds says on the screen when I call them out. This is what I had on my betting app at the time of writing out my notes and going over this card. Again, we're a week out from the fight, so these things could change from now until then, given what people place bets on. You. I mean, the odds are always changing, even when the lives are changing, depending on how the fight's going. So yeah, let's get stuck into it. So Jojo, decorated career so far, come up against some of the biggest names in the women's MMA flyweight division, missed championship fights against Shevchenko due to Shevchenko getting an injury back in 2020. More recently, lost 2 fights back-to-back in first round via rear naked chokes, and that was Santos and Grasso. But she's came back with a victory against Joanna Carolina in March of 2023, where she looked absolutely phenomenal. I mean, that was in London last year. She kept the high pace throughout the fight. Striking was on point. She managed to score 2 takedowns against Joanna, who's got like a 77% takedown defense. So this one's going to be interesting to see how Jojo comes out and how she performs. You know what I mean? So she's a plus 140 underdog on this one. She's 38 years old and she's got a record of 16-8-0. Maryna Moroz, minus 170 favorite on this one, 32 years old, a record of 11-5-0. Maryna's coming off 2 losses herself against Jennifer Maia and Karine Silva. Karine Silva, obviously, just an absolute monster at the moment too. Had a lot of cancelled bouts throughout her career, but from 11 wins, 6 of them came via submission, which gives her the edge against Jojo, leaning into this fight. Like I said, Jojo's last 2 fights before the win were first round finishes via rear naked choke, so obviously she's got the advantage here with these submissions. She also submitted Jojo in 2015 via an armbar. So how's it going to go? Where are we thinking? Where are we leaning? Jojo hasn't finished anyone in a while, susceptible to submission defeats, but overall she can see a fight go the distance. Maryna's takedown accuracy is pretty low, sitting at around about 22%. And if this fight goes to the ground, that's where she has the tools to get the job done. But the odds are pretty close. I believe if Jojo can keep it on the feet, her striking is better. If she's got significant strikes, are far superior when you're looking at the stats. If she comes out and keeps the pace that she had in the Carolina fight, then she should cruise to a decision victory in this one. And a plus 140 underdog, it's not a bad pick to make at all. You know what I mean? So let's head back out and let's get on to the next one. So it's CJ Vergara versus Assu Almabaev. Almabaev. Everyone just stick with it. You know what I mean? I've told you before, I'll botch your names, but here we go. Anyway, so Vergara is a plus 300 underdog on this one. 32 years old with a record of 12-4-1. Almabaev is a minus 400 favorite. 30 years old. 18-2-0 is his record. Vergara currently on a 2-fight win streak, beating Benicio Salvador in the unanimous decision and Daniel Lacerda via ground and pound round 2. And if you remember that Lacerda fight, you'll know how crazy that first round was. And the incredible comeback that CJ made in round 2. You know what I mean? Vergara had some good movement, uses a lot of lateral movement and doesn't throw much in the first round. But when he does, he's got some heavy hands. He tends to push the pace. He walks his opponent down in the later rounds, and he's definitely hittable. You know what I mean? Like we've seen from that Lacerda fight. He was getting absolutely smashed in that first round. He was even running away from Lacerda at certain points. and then he came back and got the victory. His ground game's pretty decent. You know what I mean? He's good in the transitions. He's good at scrambling. He's good at trying to get it back to the feet. But who knows how this will look against Almabaev. Almabaev is currently on a 14-fight win streak. Won his debut fight in the UFC via a submission. Started off with calf kicks, throws some heavy overhands, and makes a really good single leg entry off the back of them, to be honest. He's good when he's sitting in the opponent's guard. He stays active. He's throwing an onslaught of strikes whilst he's there, and a mix of ground and pound with top pressure to keep the position. And he has a variety of submission threats. So how do we see this one going? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if this fight is going to go to the distance, but if it does, I would lean in Vergara's favor. And from what I've seen so far, he's a more active striker. And as I mentioned, he pushes the pace in the later rounds. He walks his opponents down. Almabaev does have some great kicks, though, and he could catch CJ as he tries to circle out with one of them. You know what I mean? Because, like I say, he likes to move laterally. So as he's going side to side, Almabaev could throw one of them kicks up and catch him as he's on his way around. Almabaev will also put CJ's takedown defense to the test. As I mentioned, he's got great single leg entries and submission threats. Odds aren't too far apart on this fight and could literally go either way. With the power in Almabaev's hands and his head kicks, because he lands some heavy digs, if he can catch CJ first, he could capitalize and take this via ground and pound or submission. With that being said, I'm going to go with Almabaev to get this one done. The next fight on the card, so we've got a minus 450 favorite on Robelis. I'm just going to stick with that first name because it's easier to say. He's 35 years old, 4-0-0 on his record. Josh Parisian plus 350 underdog on this one, 34 years old and a 15-7-0 record. Robelis making his UFC debut. This dude looks frightening, to be honest, bagging back-to-back KOs within a matter of seconds and coming in 6'7" with an 87-inch reach, people. And there's a reason his name is the big boy. This dude is huge. None of his fights has really gone that far either. Josh Parisian is about to get knocked the out, coming off 2 losses against Martin Buday and Jamal Pogues. I really don't see him turning this one around. Some may argue he's far more experienced than Robelis. Obviously, he's only had 4 professional fights so far within his career, and this being his UFC debut. And that could be a factor, but Josh has never looked great throughout his career, to be honest. This is clearly a setup fight for Robelis to get his first UFC win, and it is heavyweight MMA after all. So who knows? Josh could get lucky. But I highly doubt it. I'm going to back Robelis to get this one done in the first round. For them, moving on, we have Michel Pereira versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. That's how you say it. Again, Oleksiejczuk. So Pereira, let's have a little look at him. I mean, minus 150 favorite, 30 years old, and it's just jumped me right down. What's going on there? 30 years old, record of 29-11-0. Oleksiejczuk plus 125, 29 years old with a record of 19-6-0. Pereira, without looking at the cancelled bouts, Pereira is currently on a 6-fight winning streak, taking victories over the likes of Chaos Williams, Andre Filo, Santiago Ponzibio, and most recently and very impressively, Andre Petrosky. Like, Pereira has also settled now on the middleweight after killing himself to get to welterweight a number of times, as well as missing weight most recently in the matchup against Wonderboy. We all know this man carries some power in his hands. He has a very unorthodox style, and at times he does backflips and lands on his opponent's heads, which I don't know how is legal when they're on the ground sometimes, but here we are, and it happens, and they let him get away with it. So, and what? Let's keep cracking on. But he's always entertaining to watch fight. You know what I mean? He's brilliant. Oleksiejczuk is coming off his recent win against Chito and Jucani by a ground and pound finish. Michal has had a bit of a win one, lose one, win one, lose one kind of run lately. But notable victories over Modestas Makaukas, Sam Alvey, and Cody Brundage. He's clearly got power in his hands with 14 of his wins coming by KO, TKO, but he's very, very hittable from what I've seen. So I'm going to be leaning with Pereira with this one to get it done early, especially if he comes out like he did against Petrosky, like I said a second ago, given how many shots Oleksiejczuk takes. He literally just takes some damage and punishment. He's obviously got a chin about it too, because he can take some amount of shots, but he's definitely going to put out there if he doesn't do that. I can't see it going the distance at all. I think if Oleksiejczuk was going to take this one to a decision victory, I think it would depend on Pereira's gas tank in those later rounds, if I'm honest with you, but I see him getting it done nice and early. The next fight up, Phillipe wins versus Ion Cutelaba. There was no odds on the app when I was doing this research. I've done the early prelims and the on one night. I've done the prelims the next morning, and I've just finished the main event today for my notes. So even from then, some of the odds might have changed, but at the time of doing them, that was what the odds were. Let me just have a quick look. No, still nothing there. So what are these guys saying? Have they got anything? Have they got anything on Tapology? No, they don't. From the looks of it. Odds? Nope, no odds at all. Has this fight been cancelled? Is it even happening? I think it's happening. It's still on this card. It's still on the UFC's card. Anyway, Ion Cutelaba, 30 years old, 17-9-1 record. Phillipe wins his 38-17-5-0. Cutelaba's coming off a recent win over Tana Boza with a first-round finish, but before that, it's not been looking too great for him, to be honest. Losing 3 in a row against Ryan Spann, Johnny Walker, and Kennedy Nchukwu. Even though he does possess some power, I don't think it's going to be enough to get the job done versus Lins over the distance. I think he might gas a little bit, and Lins will be able to take it. So Phillipe Lins, currently on a 3-fight winning streak of 2 decisions and 1 finish. I can see him taking this one. It will probably go the distance, even though both men have the capability to finish each other. If it goes down to the ground, Phillipe is the advantage with 4 submission victories under his belt, and Cutelaba has lost to 4 submissions in the past. You know what I mean? So nice little stat there, little fact. If Cutelaba wants to get it done, he needs to keep it on the feet, where he has a slight striking advantage, probably with a power too, and could potentially find a finish. But as I mentioned, I see this one going to the 3 rounds and Phillipe edging the decision victory. So let's move on up. We are getting to the prelims now, people. Pedro Munhoz and Kyler Phillips. So let's find that fight. Bang, we'll get that up. Boom, boom. So Pedro Munhoz is a plus 180 underdog on this one, with Kyler Phillips being a minus 220 favorite. Pedro Munhoz, 37 years old, with a record of 28-0. Kyler Phillips, 28 years old, with a record of 11-2-0. Not been a great run for Pedro Munhoz, recently winning one of his last 4 bouts, losing to Chito Vera the last time out, and before that was his win against Chris Gutierrez, which, if you remember, was an absolute banger of a 3-round fight. He had a no contest due to an eye poke versus Sean O'Malley. Before that, lost to Dominic Cruz and Jose Aldo. One thing we can say about Pedro is that he always comes to fight. His striking is decent, utilizes the leg kicks, and he does have 7 submission wins under his belt. And it's been a long time since he's had a win by a submission, with his last one against Rob Font back in 2017. Currently on a 2-fight win streak for Kyler Phillips. Had a few cancelled bouts recently too, but you know what I mean, he's a solid fighter nonetheless. His last win was against Barcelos, where Phillips took the decision victory. Had a few moments in the fight where he could have gotten the finish. Dropped Barcelos in the first round, had a submission opportunity in the first round. Worked well from behind his jab to set up the kicks. His cardio did seem to dip at the end of the second round and moving into the third. As you notice, his output definitely slowed down. So I think his best chances of getting the win in this is finishing Pedro, and it will be in the opening round. With 5 KO victories under his belt, he's definitely got the power to get it done. You know what I mean? As I mentioned, Kyler Phillips was to get this done. It would need to be in the opening rounds, but Pedro has never been knocked out or submitted and has only ever lost via decisions. So that's a big thing that he's going to have to come over. And let's see what his cardio is going to look like as he's getting into them later rounds, because he's got a tough job to try and knock out Pedro Munhoz there. With that being said, and considering Phillips' output being less in the later rounds, I think Pedro can edge it. I really, really do. He's going to take this to a split decision victory, I think. We'll have a look at Phillips probably taking the first round, and then Pedro turning on a little bit and taking maybe the second, or I say maybe the second and third. He has to take the second and third to get the split decision victory. So it's going to be a very close fight. Obviously, Phillips is 9 years younger, which is also a factor to consider when making your pick. But I'm going with the experience getting this one done. So after that fight, we've got Mateusz Gamrot versus Rafael dos Anjos. RDA, an absolute legend. Let's get into this one, folks. Gamrot coming in minus 334 favorite, 33 years old, with a record of 23-2-0. Rafael dos Anjos plus a 250 underdog. 39 years old, 32 wins, 15 losses, 0 draws. Gamrot currently on a 2-fight win streak, with his recent victories over Joanne Turner and Rafael Fiziev, which was a leg injury. Before that, he had his first loss since his debut, losing to, at the time, title contender Beneil Dariush. So there's obviously no shame in that one at all. Gamrot is back on the path, and at 33 years old, he's pretty much in his prime, and he's got his eyes set on going for a title shot again. He's got some heavy wrestling style, top pressure, striking is what his game plans mostly are. You know what I mean? And that's what he revolves around. So I can't see it being any different in this fight, to be honest. Dos Anjos, a legend within the sport. This man has been here forever, people. He's fought at 2 different weight classes. You know what I mean? He's been lightweight, he's been welterweight throughout his career, like constantly. And this man has done it all. At 39 years old, you can wonder how much longer has he got left in the promotion? How long is he going to keep fighting? Being like a Yoel Romero, you know what I mean? 96 years old and still swinging. But he still looks great when he gets out there. You know what I mean? Basically, he's like a marker for most of these contenders that are moving up to see how well they're going to perform. If you can get past RDA, then you might be on your way towards like top 5 rankings within certain divisions of lightweight or welterweight. Recently lost a decision to Vicente Luque. Didn't look terrible doing so, to be honest with you. And before that, he secured a rear naked choke and Brian Barberena. So let's have a little look at this one and think, like, even though Dos Anjos is the underdog and you can never count him out, he's got a wealth of experience. His willingness to get stuck into the scrap, the fact that he never gives up, can be a problem from anyone. But personally, I see Gamrot utilizing his wrestling, taking RDA down, maybe holding him up against the cage and working his way to a decision victory just to continue his way towards his title shot before it's all said and done for his career. You know what I mean? But it's going to be a wicked fight anyway. But yeah, that's how I see it going. I think Gamrot's just going to hold him down and just get some ground and pound in there. Probably, I doubt he'll get the finish, but he'll definitely work his way towards a decision on that one. Next fight, we have Caitlin Sermonara versus Maycee Barber. So let's drag that one up, people. Caitlin is a plus 162 favorite. 162 underdog. 35 years old, 18-5-0 record, with Maycee Barber being a minus 188 favorite. 25 years old, 13-2-0. So Caitlin hasn't fought in over a year. She lost a decision to Manon Fiorot. Before that, she had been on a four-fight winning streak against Cavillo, Araujo, Maia, and Rebus. Predominantly a decision fighter throughout her career, to be honest. Her experience could be the thing to see this one through. Maycee Barber currently on a 5-fight winning streak, with a most recent win against Rebus via ground and pound, and before that, a number of decision victories. So Maycee's got 6 KO victories under her belt. She definitely got the power in her hands to get the finish. Her striking's accurate, and she definitely has the pace and cardio to get it done. It's looking likely that Maycee Barber will win this fight with a 10-year age gap between them two. Caitlin being out for just over a year and coming off a loss, mostly being a decision fighter, as I mentioned before. Maycee definitely has more advantages going into this one. Striking accuracy is higher than Caitlin, and Caitlin's takedown defense is pretty terrible from looking at the stats, to be honest with you. I think we see Maycee Barber take a decision here, and if not, she could potentially even get a finish. I'm actually surprised that the odds are so close. Yeah, so yeah, I'm pretty surprised that there isn't much of a bigger difference between these two. But yeah, Maycee Barber is taking that one all day. Get that one on your parlay, folks. Next fight up after that, we have Curtis Blades versus Jailton Almeida. Crazy prelim fight. You know what I mean? Prelim, people. Like, this could be a headliner in itself. Like, that is absolutely insane. So Curtis Blades minus 110 favorite. Well, I say favorite. They're both from the app that I'm using. They're both coming in exactly the same. So Curtis Blades and Jailton Almeida at minus 110. 33 years old for Curtis Blades, 32 years old for Jailton Almeida, 17-4-0 for a record for Blades, and 22-0 for Jailton Almeida. Blades coming off his loss to Sergey Pavlovich last year. Curtis is looking to come in here with his heavy wrestling skills and put an end to the Almeida's title run. He is a very decorated career within the UFC, multiple doctor stoppages from the damage that he inflicts. Likes to take people down, likes to elbow them, and just impose his will, really, once he's got them down there through heavy strikes, control, and, as mentioned, elbows. We all know what Blades is capable of. But the question is, can he do it against Almeida, who just laid and prayed against Derek Lewis for the worst fight in history, which I'm about to get into. So his most recent win was the most boring fight in recent memory, with his victory over Derek Lewis last year. Given Almeida has finished almost every single one of his opponents in his career so far, either via KO or submission, this fight was a real letdown, to be honest with you, for the fans, and honestly not worth going back and watching if you never caught it. If you missed it, save you 25 minutes of your life and don't bother going anywhere near it. Just imagine somebody lying on a big dude and not letting him get up, but Derek did manage to stand up a couple of times. I hope he doesn't plan on doing this again. Like, I really don't. I think if he tries to do that shit again, Curtis Blades is probably just going to attack him too much from the bottom. He'll throw some elbows or whatever he's going to do. You consider the animal that Derek Lewis is. Can you really blame him for taking that approach? Probably not. You don't want to stand there and trade with Derek Lewis because heavyweight, you know, I mean, you can get knocked out at any moment, any one dig, and Derek Lewis has obviously got the power to do that. So he's on his way to a title fight from what it looks like, but with those kind of boring performances, is he going to deserve one? He even said, I think he got up and said to the fans, "Did I entertain you?" And it's like, no, mate, you didn't. Like, let's not see you do that one again. Given the state of the heavyweight division at the moment, like if he gets this win over Curtis, will they try and match him up with Tom Aspinall? There is talks about a Manchester card, so maybe that's something that they'll line up, but who knows? But anyway, let's sum this one up. So some factors to consider going into this one. Blades have been KO'd by 3 of the biggest hitters in the division: Ngannou, Lewis, and Pavlovich. And with that being said, he always comes back after those KOs and gets a number of wins under his belt from it. With that kind of damage from 3 of the biggest hitters, is it something that Jailton Almeida is going to be able to do himself? Yeah, I mean, the fight is definitely going to go down to the ground at some point. We know that, but with Blades being able to reverse positions, hold Almeida down to inflict the damage that he usually does, or even get back to his feet to see if he can stand and trade with him or stand and bang with him. Don't know if he wants to do that either because he's got some KO power himself. I'm not sure if he can, and I think we're going to see Almeida back to his previous ways of winning fights, take this one home. And with the odds being even money, it's definitely something that I would bang on to your Aka. Let's jump on now, folks. We are getting to the main card. So we got Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. Let's jump on into this one. Petr Yan coming in at -138, favorite, 31 years old, 16-5-0. Song Yadong +110, 26 years old, 21-7-1 on his record. So Yan is currently on a 3-fight losing streak after him losing his title to Aljo. He then lost the rematch to Aljo as well. Lost against O'Malley in a controversial defeat that was very, very close, and a lot of people thought that Yan had taken it. He then lost to Arab, who put an absolute clinic on him. He obviously has some great striking. His pace is usually high. His ground game is great. He seemed like he was going to be a dominant champ for quite a while before the illegal knee strikes, and it's just been downhill for him since. And training out in Thailand recently, so maybe he'll have an extra little factor in there that he's going to come in with, but it would be enough to put the spark back into his performances and get the win on Saturday night. I don't know, because Song Yadong's looking like an absolute killer. This young man's coming up. So he's coming off 2 wins, with one of them being the best knockout of 2023 versus Ricky Simon. He then went on to a decision victory over Chris Gutierrez. Currently ranked number 7, and it looks like he's on his way to a title fight. He's got as many KOs as he does decision victories. He's also got a few submission under his belt, and his ground game is solid with a 58% takedown accuracy and a whopping 74% takedown defense. But will it be enough to get past Petr Yan, whatever you want to call him? So yeah, I'm taking Song Yadong in this one. I know you can never count Petr Yan out, and he's a previous champ. He's come up with some of the biggest fights within the division. You know what I mean? He's got all the experience under his belt, but he hasn't finished anyone in almost 4 years. I think Yan's days may be over for a title shot. He's going to try to push the pace, force the takedowns, but Yadong has the ability to get it back to the feet where he has the heavier hands. And if it ends up on the ground, he can even reverse the position, lay in some strikes, even potentially submit him, like, because he's got a couple of those under his belt. And if it's a unanimous decision in this one, I mean, for an underdog, you can't say no to those odds. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you're looking at it +110 and a -138. I'm taking that +110 all day and banging that on my Aka. Gilbert Burns, Jack Della Maddalena. Let's get stuck into this one, people. Gilbert Burns is a +100 underdog, 37 years old, 22-6-0 in his record. Jack Della Maddalena is a -125 favorite, 27 years old, 16-2-0 on his record. So Burns, absolute legend of the welterweight division. Always falling short of the title though, which is a bit of a shame. Fought some of the best names in the division, and always turns up to fight. You know, I mean, he isn't going to make it easy for Jack Della Maddalena to continue his run towards a title shot at all after taking Khamzat Chimaev through a war, which some would argue he won, to be honest. He then went on to have 3 fights within the 4 months of quick succession. He had a submission over Neil Magny. He then took Jorge Masvidal to a unanimous decision. And unfortunately, He then went into a fight that was probably one too many within that short time span against Bilal. I mean, I like and I rate Bilal Muhammad too, like not a lot of people do. But he went into that fight and he lost a unanimous decision to Bilal Muhammad. Jack Dow and Maryna, currently on a tear. I mean, 16 fight win streak within his career, 6 of them being in the UFC. And JDM looks like he's going to be a title contender in the future. With a win over Gilbert Burns, he'll enter into the top 5 of the division. So let's see what he can do. But after reaching these upper levels of the divisions, he's won his last 2 fights via split decision. And this begs the question, will he be able to do it against Gilbert Burns, who is an absolute dog? So with Gilbert's experience, his sheer tenacity like to get the job done with the recovery time off that he's had, he definitely isn't going to make this one easy for JDM. As I mentioned, JDM hasn't looked like a world beater in his last 2 fights either. Both of them going to split decisions. I think I'm going to ride with Gilbert, if I'm honest with you people. Coming in as the underdog, the odds aren't looking, the odds are looking nice, in this fight. Gilbert knows he's only got a few more fights left in him. I've seen him recently on the BYM pod. He said, I'm not in this for money, but he's in it for the title. He's in it for the legacy. He's in it for the love of the sport. And he's in it because he just loves fighting. You know what I mean? It's very possible that either man could get a finish. But I see it going the distance, and I see Gilbert Burns' experience and that dog that he's got inside him. We'll see this one through, to be honest with you. Next up, we have Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page. What a fight. Let's scroll this one up. It's going to be wild. I also don't really know what to make of this one. Kevin Holland there as the favorite at -138, 31 years old, 25, 10 and 0. Michael Venom Page +110, underdog, 36 years old, 21, 2 and 0. Holland, again, another legend of the welterweight division. Always up there, banging with the best of them, always puts on a show. Whether he's in the cage or out of the cage, you're always entertained by whatever Holland's up to. I mean, as they call him on the streets, Black Man, after his superhero antics in recent years. Recently lost a split decision to JDM, which some would probably, as I mentioned a second ago for JDM, actually, some would argue that it should have actually gone to Holland and that it could have been a robbery, especially when you go back and you have a look at the stats and you actually see Holland had a far more higher output than what JDM had. It landed more strikes, significant, and just shots in general. So it's a funny one that he never got it and that it went to JDM. He's got 13 KOs. He's got 8 submission wins. He can get the job done from anywhere that he wants. And honestly, I can't wait to see this matchup. Like 2 men. It's going to be a wild fight. MVP finally signed to the UFC. You know what I mean? He's making his debut. He's coming over from Bellator. He's recently been bought out by the PFL. MVP has a lot of experience coming into this one, headlining Bellator cards himself. But we'll be able to stand in there with these boys in the UFC and get it done. With 12 finishes and 4 submissions himself. He's long, he's rangy, he's got good footwork, his striking is crisp. He's recently training with Tom Aspinall and some of the big boys over at that gym. So he's looking ready for this fight, to be honest with you folks. I'm torn between it. I really don't know where it's going to go. As I said, it could literally go either way. Both men coming in with great experience, 2 similar styles. It's a great matchup. I doubt we're going to see this one go the distance. Like it's definitely going to be a finish one way or the other. But I think I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to back MVP to get the victory. Again, very tough one to pick, but you've got to make a pick at the end of the day. But it might be one that you don't want to put on your ACCA if you like doing a long list of accumulators, or even just a short one. It might be one that you don't really want to put on there because it could literally go either way with either of these guys. Both of them are tall, both of them are rangy, both of them are crisp with the striking. They both got knockout power. They both got submission threats. Like absolutely everything. It's one of those ones, could go either way, and it's going to be an incredible fight. The fans are the real winners here. Let's get on to the co-main event of the evening. We have Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. And everyone's like, oh, you said you can't pronounce fighters' names, but you just hit Benoit Saint-Denis out like an absolute French pro. Anyway, Dustin Poirier, +140, underdog, people. 35 years old, 29, 8 and 0. Benoit Saint-Denis is coming in -170 favorite, 28 years old, 13, 1 and 0. Poirier, another legend, but this time of the lightweight division. Crazy how set this card is. Like, honestly, it's absolutely insane. Another man that's always just fell short of the title too. You know, I mean, he's coming off his recent loss, Justin Gaethje, for the BMF title via a huge head kick. He's now being matched up with this impressive Benoit Saint-Denis. Let's just say BSD. I'll just just say that now. I think I'll probably end up saying Benoit and Denis about 12 more times. So I don't need to go into it too much about Dustin Poirier. Like, you should know who he is. You should know his credentials. You should know how good this guy is, and that he's always willing to fight. His boxing is fucking incredible. You know what I mean? So that's what we should expect on fight night from Dustin Poirier, and there's nothing else that needs to be said about it. So BSD, after losing his UFC debut, has gone on an absolute warpath of finishes. You know what I mean? He holds a 5-fight win streak at the moment. He's never made it out of the second round in any of those fights. He's either had the finishes in the first or the second. From submissions to KOs, he's done it all in his short career, and he's looking like he's not getting stopped anytime soon. His most recent victory coming over Matt Frivola via a head kick in the first round. And it's going to be interesting to see how he performs against a veteran like Dustin. Again, another tough pick, but I'm going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis to get this one done. Benoit Saint-Denis is young, hungry, looking unstoppable. Poirier is coming back after 7 months from that KO, which was a vicious head kick. And I think we might see another one in this fight. It might not be another head kick, but I think we might see another finish. My only concern is if he does make it out of the second round is how will BSD's cardio hold up? Is it going to survive the final rounds? Is going to be able to deal with Poirier's output? As we know, his combinations are excellent. He just starts laying it onto people as it gets later and later. And will we be able to ride it out to a decision victory or even a late stoppage for Dustin Poirier? Either way, it's going to be a banger, folks, and I'm really looking forward to see this one. But yeah, Benoit Saint-Denis to get this one done, I think. Let's move on to the final fight, the main event of the evening, people. O'Malley versus Marlon Vera, or Chito Vera, whatever you want to call him. Let me just get my notes back up again. So, Sean O'Malley, -250 favorite, 29 years old, 17-1-0, or 17-0-0 if you were Sean O'Malley yourself. Chito Vera, +200 underdog, 31 years old, 23 wins, 8 losses, and 1 draw. O'Malley, obviously the new bantamweight champ after beating Aljo in spectacular fashion. You know what I mean? He had a wicked counter right. He's looking to defend his title in this one. O'Malley, as we know, is very rangy. He's very accurate. He carries power in his shots, and he likes to draw his opponent in and look for that counter shot. There was questions around his ground game after the last Chito fight and being defeated on the ground by elbows from the guard, but he silenced a lot of people, I think, with the Pereira fight. Looking confident in the grappling exchanges. You know what I mean? He's got some good takedown defense with Pereira only landing 6 of the 13 takedowns that he went for. Since the last fight with Chito, O'Malley's gone on to develop and improve his game in every aspect, really. He's won 5 fights in a row, 1 no contest, and he's looking likely to defend his belt come Saturday night. Chito Vera jumping ahead of the rankings a little bit with this one, getting the shot ahead of Merab. Obviously, he wouldn't fight Aljo, so he's had to go on to fight a couple of other people. Corey Sandhagen is out due to recovery from surgery, I think, that he got in his elbow or shoulder. I think it's his elbow. So yeah, he's still out. He's going to be waiting to come back into it. So he's been given his title chance. And the rivalry and the history between these two men is probably why. You know what I mean? As I mentioned at the top, Sean doesn't count his last fight against Chito as a loss. He rolled his ankle, what was it, 5 times, I think he said in an interview to somebody, not being able to walk and not being able to get the job done. He was like, yeah, I never lost. But he talks, like, I'm kind of paraphrasing here. He talks about, he's saying he knows he's lost. He's not an idiot. Like, he's going, yeah, there's a loss on my record. Yeah, I lost the fight. But in his head, he didn't lose because it was because of certain things of why he couldn't get the finish and why he couldn't get it done. And that's how he ended up getting taken down and elbowed to the face a lot. After this last matchup, Chito went on to get victories over Frankie Edgar, Rob Font, Dominic Cruz, most recently Pedro Munhoz, but he also lost to Jose Aldo and Corey Sandhagen. Absolutely dominated him. But then Chito bounced back and looked a lot better. In his victory against Pedro Munhoz, does it look like he's going to be able to do enough to be able to take the belt away from O'Malley, especially though, like, he's kind of not been straight on it recently in his most recent fights, you know what I mean? So I don't know if it's going to happen. So I'm going to say, before I make my pick on this one, like I said, I've kind of given it away a little bit in there. I really like both of these fighters. Like, I really like the styles. I like the personalities. The performances they put up in the cage is brilliant. But with that being said, Chito's never been finished. He has also never been submitted. But I am going to choose and still on Saturday night. I think O'Malley's got his work cut out ahead of him. Like, he really does. And if it goes the distance, that's going to be Chito's best chance at securing gold. But I think as long as O'Malley can keep it on the feet, he can keep the range, he can pick away at him, keep the pace up throughout the fight, like doesn't gas later into the fourth and fifth round if it gets to those points. Obviously, he was starting to look a little bit tired in that fight with Pereira. But as he gets there, I think he should be able to outstrike his way to victory here. And after all, they do say once you become a champion, you become 30% better than you were before. So that's been my picks. Will I be able to continue my 100% record from what I just had on this weekend? There's so many bangers in there. It's going to end up going one way or the other. That would be everyone that I would put in. If you want, have a little look through it again. Select who you think you would put on a parlay. I would maybe just go for a handful of people rather than doing an absolute full dog legger like I done this weekend. Like I say, 11 fights. It's not very often you get all 11 fights right, especially when there's some heavyweight bouts in there too. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your picks. Fire them in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter at McDane MMA. I'm always up for talking about it on there. Let's go through some stuff. You can also find me on thebloodygoodshow.info. You can also get me on the Rambling Dad podcast. You can also get me on YouTube, which you might already be watching me on, and the Rambling Dad MMA podcast on Instagram, just down there. And also, as you can see, again, I'm wearing some Almighty merch, almightymerch.shop. Sponsor your boy. Well, not sponsor your boy. Actually, yeah, Annie, sponsor your boy. But yeah, go and support your favorite fighter, folks. You know what I mean? Go and help them out if they've got some merch. It goes a long way for them in camps, etc., etc. But yeah, anyway, that's been me. I'm now, again, the Rambling Dad's rambling on. So thank you very much for tuning in, and good luck with your picks this weekend. Let's hope that we can make some more money. Cheers.
What's going on, people? Arnold Allen here. Make sure you subscribe to the Rambling Dad podcast. Keep up to date with all his MMA content, fight breakdowns, interviews, and all that stuff. Give him a follow, give him a subscription, and yeah, get over there.